Hi everyone and welcome to your next lesson in the hardware unit. Today what we're going to be doing is having a little look at backing storage devices. You'll be successful in your learning today if you can describe the purpose of a backing storage device, if you can identify some of the backing storage devices that we're going to look at today, and if you can explain the main use of different types of backing storage devices. Now before we start to move on and look at backing storage devices, let's have a little think about some of the devices that we looked at last week. Okay, so last week we were focusing on output devices. If you haven't done so already, can you please make your way into the pupil share directory, into Computing Science in the S1 folder, and find the PowerPoint file called Lesson 3 Backing Storage Devices. On the first slide, you'll find the following 4 scenarios, and I want you to have a little read of them and try to guess what type of output device would be most commonly used. Okay, remember, if you think it's a type of printer, to choose between an inkjet or a laser. If you think it would be a loudspeaker, if it would be headphones, if it would be a monitor, or anything that we discussed last week. Get your teacher to pause the video, have 5 minutes to have a little go, and then when you're ready, come back. Okay, hopefully you've had a little think about the different types of devices that they are. The teacher has got access to the answers, so if you want to go over these very quickly, then you can. And let's start talking about today's learning. So, on your second slide of your PowerPoint document, you'll find a slide that looks just like this. At the top, what we've got is different types of backing storage devices, and down the left-hand side, we've got different types of terms that are used to describe how those backing storage devices work. Now, basically what a backing storage device is somewhere where you can save something. Okay, have a think about for a second what it would be like to live in a world where all computers can't save anything. You're going to be writing a letter to somebody. You open up Microsoft Word, you type out the letter, you print it, close your computer, that letter's now gone because it can't be saved, and then you have a little look at your printout and think, oh, I put the wrong address in there, or there's a spelling mistake, or I've typed the wrong name. If you want to then create another copy of the letter, you have to go back into the computer, type the whole thing out again, and then print it off again, hoping there's not any more mistakes. You can't save that letter to use at a different time, okay? You can't create duplicates, for example. So it makes it really frustrating. And obviously with nowadays, when we create different types of things on the computer, for example, if we're playing a game, we're trying to get through levels, or we're writing an English essay, which might take us a few days or a week, we don't want to be able to not turn off our computer for all that time. And perhaps if there's a power cut or something, we'd lose all our work. So backing storage devices are really, really important. And the purpose of them is saving. Okay, so along the top here, what we've got is different types of backing storage devices that you may have come across before. So the first one, this blue one here, it is known as a USB memory stick, memory pen, USB stick, any of those kind of terms. That's probably what you would use on a most daily basis. It's really robust, difficult to break it. It's really portable and you can use it to move data from computer to computer. The second one you've got along here is one that's usually built inside your computer system, especially if you're using a desktop computer. It's known as a hard disk drive. Its storage capacity is really large, but it's not portable. You don't tend to move it from computer to computer unless you get an external hard drive. And this is used for storing most of the information that you have inside your computer system. Now the next 3 look really similar, but they're different in their capacity. So the first one is a CD, most commonly used for things like music and things. Then we've got a DVD, again the same size and shape, but it has a little bit more storage, and I'll let you have a little research into why. And it has usually used for things like movies. And then you have a Blu-ray, again same size and shape, but it can store even more information. It tends to be used for really complex movies, so those that have got like HD or 4K, or are perhaps in a 3D format, for example, where you need that little bit of extra storage to store the high quality video footage that's been used there. Okay, now the next one along is called an SSD, which stands for solid state drive. Very similar to a hard disk drive, and that they're sometimes built inside a computer or sometimes they can be used externally, and they're for much larger amounts of storage. Okay, so if you've got perhaps a new laptop or maybe an iPad or a tablet of some kind that's quite powerful, it's most likely it's got a solid state drive inside there. Okay, a lot more expensive than a hard disk drive because you don't have any movable parts, but have that high capacity, which is great for portability and for moving computers about. So tend to be used in like laptops and tablets and smartphones and things where perhaps you're going to be moving those devices about a bit more than you would a bigger desktop. And the last one we've got is an SD card, which is commonly used in things like digital cameras and things like that. Okay, quite flat, no movable parts, similar to a USB stick, just has a different port for reading off it, and has a variety of different capacities as well, because it's usually stored for using high quality photographs. Now what I want you to do is I want you to, as much as possible, go onto the internet. You might want to pick maybe just 2 or 3 of the devices, see how long it takes you, and try to find all of the information about this. So on the left hand side, let me just explain to you what each of the categories mean. So the first category is whether the device is used internal, inside a computer, external, or portable. Usually they'll either be internal or external and portable, which means they're outside and can be moved from computer to computer. It's not very often that you get a hard disk drive that's kind of connected to the outside of a computer and can't be moved, for example. The second category is magnetic, optical, or solid state. So does it work by having some magnetic static electricity? Is it optical, so it's read by a laser? Or is it solid state, which means it has no moving parts? The third category is the storage capacity. Now you'll have to probably go with ranges here or averages. So if you were to type into Google hard disk drive average storage capacity, it'll give you kind of a wee range, and just put that into your table. So it might say from 1 GB to 1 TB, and that's absolutely fine. Remember, what I've done is put them in order there from lowest to highest. Okay, again, they might be smaller than that even again, but just see how you get on. The next one is the transfer speed. So this is how quickly you can save or load to each of these devices. So sometimes something that's internal to the computer system can be saved to a lot quicker than it having to go out, for example, through a USB port or to be burned onto a DVD. So this is measured in kilobytes per second, megabytes per second, or gigabytes per second. So how quickly it can store. And again, you can go lower or higher than this just based on what you find in your research. That one's going to be quite a difficult one, so don't worry if you don't manage to find that one too much. The next category is about how often you can save to it. So if it's rewritable, it means you can save to it again and again and again. If it's read only, you can't save onto the device and you can only read information on it. And if it is recordable, that means that you can save to it once, but once information has been burned to it or saved to it, then you can't rewrite over that information. And that can be really useful. And sometimes different types of devices can come in different categories. However, most of the time nowadays, most of the devices will come under the rewritable category, where we can put things in them again and again and again. The last two should be fairly obvious. So the second last category is the average price. Again, this will change based on sizes, so just see what you find and do a little bit of research. Don't worry too much if you're off here. And then the last one is the main use. So some of them might be a bit more obvious. For example, the last one, the SD card, the main use of that is usually with digital cameras to store photographs. Okay, the main use of a DVD is usually to store films. But obviously with some of them it might not be as obvious. So just see if you can find the main use, or off the top of your head with any of the knowledge that you have already, see if you can write down the main use. Okay, so go away, and about 10 minutes before the end of the period, I'll get your teacher to play the second video, which will go over some of the answers with you and you can see if you've got right. Okay, so pick either 2 or 3 or see how much you can get done in the time that you've got and see if you can fill out as much of the research as possible. Good luck, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.